why you can't keep working your 9 to 5. You are quietly dying. That suffocating paralysis gripping you at your desk isn't laziness. It is a violent, sacred mutiny of your starving soul. You have accidentally entombed yourself inside an invisible cage of borrowed dreams. Watch until the end, because your terrifying resurrection begins now. The silent rebellion of the paralyzed soul. It is 9:38 a.m., and you are quietly dying. Not a dramatic, like bloody death that makes the evening news, but a slow, invisible hemorrhage of the spirit beneath the humming of office fluorescent lights. A sharp, metallic ping shatters the eerie silence of the corporate graveyard, signaling another email sliding into your inbox. A red deadline flashes in the corner of your screen, screaming with a fabricated urgency that no longer reaches you. Yet, as you stare at the monitor, an abyss of absolute nothingness opens up inside your chest. You are completely paralyzed. You feel no anxiety, no pressure, and absolutely no spark of life. You are merely fossilizing in your ergonomic chair, while those cold, sterile lights, the very fluorescent lights bleaching the color out of your soul, siphon the last drop of vitality from your veins. Welcome to the inner multiverse. If you have ever felt this silent scream echoing in your bones, I urge you to hit the subscribe button right now to support the channel, because what we are about to uncover today will brutally dismantle everything you thought you knew about your own exhaustion and give us the motivation to keep guiding you through the dark. That is when the venomous whispers begin. Your own mind turns against you in the suffocating silence, repeating its cruel, agonizing mantra. What the hell is wrong with you? Why can't you just focus? You are profoundly lazy. You are fundamentally broken. And then comes the sharpest blade of all. You are ungrateful. Society reminds you that millions are clawing for the very seat you occupy, starving for this dream job, according to the blind metrics of the masses, hungry for your stable paycheck and your glossy business card. And yet, here you are, utterly numb and disgusted by it. This paradox breeds a monstrous, suffocating guilt that crushes your lungs every time you try to lift your hands to the keyboard. What have you done to escape this torture? You have eagerly swallowed the superficial antidotes this modern world shoves down our throats. You drown yourself in thick, dark coffee, praying the caffeine will perform a synthetic miracle and resurrect your decaying nervous system. You binge motivational videos, searching for soaring background music and hollow battle cries about discipline and passion. You forcefully bend your genuine emotions, twisting your face into a plastic, industrial smile, nodding enthusiastically in meaningless meetings. But it all slips away into the void. The coffee only makes you tremble with nervous dread. The motivational speeches only deepen the echoing emptiness inside you. And the forced enthusiasm leaves you feeling like a marionette with severed strings, desperately trying to perform a grotesque, unnatural dance. You are trapped in a quicksand of profound hopelessness. But I want you to stop. Take a deep breath and look past the blinding fog of your own self-flagellation. What if I told you that your inability to function in this 9-to-5 machine, your absolute paralysis when trying to reply to a senseless email, is not a failure of your willpower? What if this is not a system error that needs to be patched up with another pathetic time management course? This paralysis, the suffocating darkness consuming you at your desk, is actually a sacred alarm. It is not the collapse of a weak, defeated individual. It is, in fact, a triumphant, brilliant, and fiercely violent rebellion of your own soul. You do not lack willpower. Your authentic will has simply decided to stop serving a theatrical play it never belonged to. The invisible cage of borrowed dreams. To comprehend exactly why your spirit has staged this violent mutiny, we must first examine the architecture of the invisible prison you have been carefully taught to build. From the moment you could comprehend language, you were fed a very specific, deeply flawed blueprint for human happiness. They told you that success was a linear, mathematical equation. Get the perfect grades, secure the prestigious degree, land the respectable job, and slowly climb a ladder that ostensibly reaches toward the clouds. But no one ever warned you that this ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Over the years, you absorbed the anxieties of your parents, the demands of your teachers, and the superficial metrics of a heavily consumerist society, mistakenly internalizing them as your own deeply held desires. You spent decades carefully constructing a towering monument to other people's expectations, only to realize, as you sit trembling in your office chair, that you have accidentally entombed yourself inside it. The profound exhaustion you feel is not the physical tiredness of a hard day's labor. It is the immense psychological fatigue of maintaining a persona that is fundamentally misaligned with your core essence. Every senseless email you send, every arbitrary spreadsheet you format, is a micro-betrayal of your own truth. You are continuously trading the unrepeatable seconds of your finite, fleeting life for a synthetic sense of security that can be stripped away in a single, unceremonious round of corporate layoffs. Your soul is not broken or lazy. It is utterly starving. It is suffocating beneath the crushing weight of borrowed dreams, desperately crying out for a nutrient it cannot possibly find in this sterile corporate ecosystem: authenticity. The paralysis gripping your hands is simply your body's emergency brake, violently pulling you out of a dangerous, lifelong trance. It forces you to look down at your keyboard and ask the most terrifying question a human being can ever face: who is actually living my life? When the deafening noise of the corporate machinery temporarily fades, the silence leaves you entirely alone with the chilling realization that you have been starring in a beautifully directed film where you never got to read the script, and worse, you never even wanted the role. The terrifying threshold of ego death. Recognizing the false walls of this elaborate stage is only the first agonizing step. The true terror begins when you realize you hold the key to your own exit. Facing the door to your freedom triggers a massive psychological earthquake, a phenomenon that feels dangerously close to a complete and total collapse of your identity. We call this the ego death. For years, you have wrapped your entire sense of self-worth tightly around your job title, your salary bracket, and the approving nods you receive at family gatherings when you mention your profession. To sever that tether is to step off a cliff into absolute nowhere. The human mind, strictly programmed for survival and tribal belonging, will fight this awakening with everything it has. It will conjure nightmarish visions of destitution, whispering relentlessly that you will end up a failure, an outcast, a cautionary tale whispered about by former colleagues in the break room. It is a grueling, invisible battle fought in the darkest trenches of your own consciousness. You will find yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, your heart hammering wildly against your ribs, violently torn between the paralyzing fear of the unknown and the crushing certainty of spiritual death if you choose to remain. The people closest to you will likely not understand. They will look at your stable life, your apparent success, and call you irrational, ungrateful, or simply insane for wanting to throw it all into the fire. Their concern, though masked as genuine love, will serve as heavy iron anchors, desperately trying to drag you back into the shared illusion. You must profoundly understand that their fear is not actually about you. It is a desperate projection of their own repressed desires and the terrifying compromises they have made with their own souls. Walking toward that exit means watching the person you thought you were disintegrate into ash right before your eyes. It means standing naked in the bitter wind, entirely stripped of the comforting armor of societal approval. But this agonizing disintegration is entirely necessary, for you cannot possibly discover who you are meant to become until you systematically destroy who you were pretending to be. Shedding the corporate skin. There comes a singular, undeniable moment in this destruction when the agony of staying tight in the bud becomes vastly greater than the pain it takes to blossom. This is the breaking point, the sacred threshold where your inner rebellion finally spills over into the physical world and you submit your resignation. The immediate aftermath of this severance is rarely the euphoric, triumphant cinematic montage you might expect. Instead, it is a profoundly disorienting freefall through a vacuum. When the initial spike of adrenaline fades, you are suddenly hit with a deafening, heavy silence. You wake up on a Tuesday morning, and the phantom weight of a commute, a useless meeting, and a looming deadline is completely gone, leaving behind an eerie, echoing void in your chest. This is the necessary detox period, a time of agonizing withdrawal from a lifelong addiction to stress and manufactured urgency. At first, you will feel an overwhelming, irrational guilt just for resting. You will pace the floors of your living room, your brain still vibrating at the frantic, unnatural frequency of the corporate machine, desperate for a fabricated problem to solve or a superficial fire to put out. You have literally forgotten how to simply exist without producing measurable, capitalist value. But slowly, as the heavy days bleed into quiet weeks, the rigid armor begins to crack and fall away. You start to notice the intricate texture of the morning light filtering through your window pane. You hear the natural, unhurried cadence of your own breathing. You begin the painstaking work of deprogramming the deeply ingrained belief that your human worth is irrevocably tied to your economic productivity. It is a messy, unglamorous, and deeply vulnerable shedding of the corporate skin. You are forcefully unlearning the toxic language of metrics, key performance indicators, and deliverables, while slowly trying to remember the forgotten, native dialect of your own intuition. During this strange purgatory, you are a ghost haunting your own life, suspended between a world you can no longer tolerate and a reality you have not yet built. It is terrifying, yet completely vital, for the hardened soil of your soul must be ruthlessly tilled and left bare before any new, authentic seeds can finally take root. The resurrection of the authentic self. As the toxic residue of your former life slowly washes away into that bare soil, you are left standing in the terrifying, magnificent dawn of your own authentic existence. You begin to rebuild your reality, not from a generic blueprint handed down by a terrified society, but from the quiet, persistent whispers of your own genuine curiosities. The resurrection of the true self is not a sudden, magical cure-all where every subsequent day is infused with relentless, euphoric joy. Rather, it is the quiet, profound dignity of finally owning your own struggles. When you engage in work now, even if the daily tasks are mundane or difficult, they are tethered to a purpose that originates directly from within your own chest. The crushing, deadening paralysis you once felt is entirely replaced by a fluid, dynamic energy because your mind, body, and spirit are finally moving in the exact same direction. You realize with absolute clarity that true success was never about the endless accumulation of wealth or the prestigious acquisition of a corner office, but about the sovereign ownership of your own time and the unapologetic expression of your inherent nature. The sacrifices you make in this new life, and there will be many steep hills to climb, are consciously chosen, not tyrannically imposed. They are the beautiful, meaningful burdens of a deeply free individual, rather than the agonizing, pointless chains of a corporate captive. You will eventually look back at that fossilized version of yourself, slumped in that ergonomic chair beneath those soul-bleaching fluorescent lights, and you will not feel anger or regret. You will feel a profound, overwhelming wave of gratitude. You will realize that the absolute darkness, the suffocating numbness, and the total paralysis were the greatest, most loving gifts you ever received from the universe. They were the uncompromising, fiercely loyal guardians of your destiny, absolutely refusing to let you sleepwalk quietly into the grave. You are finally awake now, and to anyone who is still sitting in that chair, listening to these words while the red deadlines violently flash on their screen, I leave you with this absolute truth. Listen to your paralysis. Honor your total numbness. It is the beautiful, desperate sound of your own soul begging you to finally come alive. You. The journey from corporate paralysis to authentic living is not merely a career change. It is a profound spiritual awakening. For decades, many of us have been trapped in an invisible cage built by societal expectations, trading our finite, unrepeatable existence for a synthetic illusion of security. The burnout, paralyzing exhaustion, and numbness you experience in these environments are not signs of personal failure or laziness. Rather, they are your soul's violent, desperate rebellion against a life that is fundamentally misaligned with your true essence. Stepping away from this elaborate, borrowed stage requires confronting the terrifying threshold of ego death, where you must bravely dismantle your job title-dependent identity and face the chilling void of the unknown. This shedding of the corporate skin is a deeply uncomfortable but necessary detox. It forces you to unlearn the toxic equation that ties your human worth strictly to your economic productivity, allowing you to endure the heavy, healing silence that follows the departure of manufactured urgency. However, this painful disintegration is absolutely vital. By tearing down the towering monument of other people's expectations, you ruthlessly till the bare soil of your soul, making room for genuine curiosities to finally take root. Ultimately, true success is redefined not by the endless accumulation of wealth or climbing an arbitrary ladder, but by the sovereign ownership of your own time and the unapologetic expression of your inherent nature. The darkness you endured was the fierce guardian of your destiny, refusing to let you sleepwalk into the grave. Profound lesson. S not and never has been tied to your economic output, your salary bracket, or the superficial approval of society. True alignment requires stepping into the terrifying void of the unknown and systematically destroying the persona you built for others so your genuine self can emerge. How to apply this to your life? Start ion to your body's resistance. When you feel drained, paralyzed, or emotionally numb at work, do not instantly dismiss it or try to caffeinate your way through it. Pause and ask yourself, am I doing this out of genuine purpose, or am I just fulfilling someone else's blueprint? Begin the deeply vital work of decoupling your identity from your career. Reclaim small pockets of your day to engage in activities purely for joy, without any pressure to produce measurable capitalist value. Practice sitting in stillness, allowing yourself to simply exist. Set firm boundaries in your current environment to protect your energy, and start exploring the quiet, persistent whispers of your own curiosities to map out a life that finally belongs to you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this journey. Have you eve ends of numbness or burnout? And what is one small step you have taken or plan to take to reconnect with your authentic self? Please politely share your perspective in the comments below so our community can read, relate, and draw inspiration from your experience. If you found value in this message, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us and provides the vital motivation we need to continue creating deep, meaningful content like this for you.